This is the story of Carl, a loan officer at a bank who manages loans for people worldwide. Despite his professional role, Carl is deeply depressed and unhappy. He's divorced from his wife, avoids meeting friends, skips social gatherings, and feels like his life is consumed by darkness. Carl prefers to stay isolated from everyone. One day, his friend calls him while Carl is at a video library. His friend mentions that he had messaged Carl earlier and says, "We're all going out for dinner tonight." Carl responds, claiming he didn't get the message or didn't read it because he's busy working on an important case. His friend insists, saying, "You'll have to come. We've all made plans." Carl tries to excuse himself again, saying he's reviewing a case file. But his friend points out, "I can see you clearly. You're standing in line at the video library. Stop pretending and come with us." Reluctantly, Carl agrees to join them, even though he doesn't want to. At the club, Carl spots his ex-wife, Stephanie, who's there with her boyfriend. They've been divorced for 3 years. Carl tries to avoid eye contact and doesn't want to face her. Stephanie eventually notices him and comes over, but Carl quickly makes an excuse and leaves. Carl's confidence is at an all-time low, and he's disappointed in his life. He feels lonely and disconnected, which is why he finds no joy in anything. In Carl's neighborhood, there's an old woman who frequently asks him to visit her house. She often insists, but Carl always declines, making up excuses to avoid her. At work, Carl's senior calls him in and says, "You know we've been discussing a promotion." Carl replies, "Yes, I'm aware." His senior then informs him that someone else got the promotion. Carl simply says, "No problem," as he's used to such disappointments. Later, some people come to the bank seeking a loan, but because their documents are incomplete, Carl declines their application. Carl rarely answers phone calls and prefers to be left alone. One afternoon, while Carl is out for lunch, an old friend spots him and remarks, "You're still working here?" This moment adds another layer to Carl's ongoing struggles, highlighting his stagnant and lonely life. Carl replies, "Yes, I'm still working here. What about you?" His friend responds, "I'm traveling the world because I'm a yes man." He hands Carl a brochure and insists, "You should definitely check out this program. I know you don't want to stay stuck in this bank. Take this stone and smash the bank's glass." Carl refuses, saying, "No, I can't do that." His friend presses him. "Now ask me, do I want to break the bank's glass?" Amused, Carl asks, and his friend enthusiastically says, "Yes," before smashing the glass and running away. While leaving, he shouts, "Make sure you attend that seminar I told you about. Live your life. You won't regret it." In Carl's life, the word no dominates. He refuses everything. He skips parties, avoids buying anything, and clings to his dull routine. Despite this, he still misses his ex-wife, Stephanie. One day he calls her and says, "I miss you, Stephanie." Stephanie, however, brushes it off, saying, "I'm heading out with my boyfriend." Carl replies, "Yes, you should," and hangs up. Even when Carl's friend invites him to his engagement party, Carl refuses to attend, which makes his friend angry. His friend tells him, "If you don't change your life, you'll end up alone forever," before storming off. Feeling stuck, Carl decides to attend the seminar his friend recommended. The program, called the Yes Seminar, is led by a motivational guru named Terrence. At the seminar, Carl's friend Nick introduces him as a first-time attendee. Terrence invites Carl to the stage, but Carl declines, saying, "No, thank you, I'm fine here." Terrence, intrigued, asks, "What did you just say?" Carl repeats, "No." The crowd starts chanting, "No man, no man." Terrence approaches Carl, declaring, "If you won't come to me, I'll come to you." Terrence confronts him, saying, "You're not really living. You've been stuck in the same job for years. You don't have friends or a girlfriend, and you lost your love because you don't know how to embrace life." Carl admits, "I'm going through a rough time." Terrence challenges him, "Promise me that from now on, you'll say yes to every opportunity. No more saying no." Under pressure, Carl reluctantly agrees and says yes. When Carl leaves the seminar, a stranger approaches him near his car and asks, "Can you give me a ride to Elysian Park?" Carl is about to refuse, but Nick appears and reminds him, "Say yes." Feeling obligated, Carl agrees, saying, "Sure, I'll take you." After dropping the man off, the stranger asks, "Do you have some money?" Once again, Carl wants to say no, but he remembers his promise and says, "Yes." Carl begins to hand over some money to the stranger, but the man insists, "You're rich. Give me all your money. Reluctantly, Carl hands over everything. As Carl drives away, his car suddenly breaks down. He realizes he can't call for help because the stranger drained his phone's battery. Left with no choice, Carl walks to a nearby petrol pump. At the petrol pump, he uses his credit card to fill his car's tank. While he's there, a girl on a scooter pulls up, notices him, and snaps a photo. She asks, "Did you run out of petrol? Should I drop you?" Carl, sticking to his new philosophy, says yes. He hops on her scooter and she drives him back to his car. The girl, Allison, introduces herself, asks if he's okay, and before he can respond, she kisses him and drives away. Carl is left in awe, thinking, all this happened because I said yes. If I hadn't helped that stranger, run out of petrol, or accepted Allison's help, I wouldn't have gotten a kiss. Embracing his new approach, Carl starts saying yes to everything. At work, when asked if he can come in urgently, he immediately agrees. Upon reaching the office, he finds an email from a dating website offering him a chance to meet someone. He decides to give it a shot. Later, a woman visits the bank seeking a loan for her small cake business. Though the bank typically doesn't provide small loans, Carl approves it, determined to say yes to everyone. Carl also reconnects with his two best friends, whom he had avoided for years. He apologizes, admitting, "I've been such a fool. Saying yes has completely changed my life." His friends test him by asking the waitress to keep the drinks coming, claiming Carl will cover the bill. Carl confidently says, "Yes, I'll pay." After a fun night of drinking, dancing, and fighting, Carl feels happier than ever. However, the next morning, Carl's yes habit gets tested. An elderly neighbor, who frequently bothers him, asks, "Will you fix my shelf?" Carl hesitantly says yes and goes to her house. After completing the task, he tries to leave, but instinctively says no. As soon as he steps outside, he falls down the stairs and narrowly avoids being bitten by a dog. This incident makes him realize how dangerous saying no can be. He returns to the old woman's house and lets her do whatever she wants, even finding himself oddly enjoying it. From then on, Carl embraces every opportunity. He takes guitar lessons, learns to fly a plane, and even improves his strained relationship with his boss. At the bank, he approves loans for everyone, regardless of the amount. One day, a man handing out bar brochures stops Carl on the street. Carl, who used to always say no, takes the brochure and promises, "I'll definitely come." That evening, Carl visits the bar and is thrilled to see Allison performing on stage. After her set, she approaches him and teases, "Are you following me?" Carl insists, "No, I wouldn't do that." Allison explains that she's a singer and also teaches a jogging photography class at 6 a.m. Carl, intrigued, listens closely as his new life of saying yes continues to unfold. Allison invites Carl to join her jogging photography class at 6 o'clock in the morning, and Carl decides to go. That night, Carl's friend calls and invites him to a party. Carl agrees, spends the night partying, and drinks until dawn. Despite his late night, he shows up at Allison's class on time. He runs with the group, takes photos, and feels a newfound excitement in life. Where once he was unhappy, he is now full of joy, all thanks to embracing the word yes. Allison is impressed by Carl's attitude and personality, and they become friends. Meanwhile, Carl decides to meet a girl from a dating site. She's an Iranian woman, but Carl isn't interested in her because his heart is set on Allison. Coincidentally, his friend Peter and Lucy join the same date. Lucy is upset that no one is throwing her a bridal shower. Peter suggests a solution and asks Carl for help. Although Lucy initially dislikes Carl, his willingness to help changes her opinion, and she praises him. The next day, Carl takes Allison to a party at his friend's house. After the party, they ride around on Carl's two-wheeler, with Carl driving for the first time. They enjoy the moment together, and later that night, they sneak into a closed stadium and share a romantic kiss. Back at the bank, Carl's habit of saying yes to every loan request leads to a long line of loan applicants. When his senior officers notice, they call him in for a meeting. Carl assumes he's in trouble, but to his surprise, they praise him. They reveal that approving small loans has boosted the company's growth, as all borrowers are paying back their loans. Impressed by his work, they promote Carl. Carl's positive outlook and openness continue to impact others. One day, he notices a man about to commit suicide. He rushes to the man's flat and sings a motivational song called "Jumper," ultimately saving the man's life. Later, Carl and Allison decide to travel together. While at the airport, Carl runs into his ex-wife, Stephanie. She tells him she saw him on TV saving the man's life and is amazed at the person he has become. Carl's ex-wife, Stephanie, is surprised by his transformation. When she asks about his plans, Carl tells her he's traveling with his girlfriend, Allison, but they haven't decided on the destination yet. At the ticket counter, Carl impulsively books a flight to Nebraska, impressing Allison with his spontaneity and humor. During their trip, Allison suggests they move in together when they return. Carl happily agrees, as he's been longing for love and companionship. At the airport, security officers detain Carl, questioning his recent activities, including learning to fly a plane, speaking Korean, funding a fertilizer company, and dating an Iranian woman. Allison also discovers Carl was briefly married for immigration reasons. The officers suspect him of being a terrorist, but Carl's lawyer explains that all these activities were part of a yes seminar. Allison feels Carl's actions, including their relationship, were driven by the seminar and not genuine feelings, leaving her upset and distant. Carl's life takes a downturn, but he fulfills his promise to throw a bridal shower for his friend's fiancée, hosting a lively party. During the party, Stephanie calls him, revealing she's broken up with her boyfriend and wants Carl back. However, Carl turns her down, realizing he has moved on. Confused about the yes philosophy, Carl confronts the seminar guru, Terrence, leading to a car accident that lands them both in the hospital. Terrence explains the idea wasn't to always say yes, but to overcome fear and make genuine choices. Carl finally understands he can say no when necessary. Carl reconciles with Allison, explaining that embracing life and saying yes brought them together. He assures her his feelings are genuine. Allison realizes the truth, and they share a heartfelt moment.